Michelle Obama surprised fans on her new podcast by saying her pet peeve about her husband is that he's chronically late. For example, we're still waiting on him to admit he's from Kenya. And as for Barack's pet peeve about Michelle, he's mad that she keeps leaving the toilet seat up. When she cleans it. When she cleans it. Rumors continue to escalate for the Obamas. Hopefully they can settle it like men.
Michelle Obama's meticulously crafted public persona just ran headfirst into Greg Gutfeld's brand of scorched earth satire. The aftermath wasn't pretty. With razor-sharp wit, biting candor, and a heavy dose of irony, Gutfeld launched a full-scale assault on the media-built image of the former First Lady. He tore through the polished narrative with ruthless efficiency, flipping admiration into mockery and reverence into raw critique. This wasn't a passing jab, it was a full-on dismantling, leaving no piece of the myth untouched.
Obama's new podcast is off to a slow start, ranked at number 34 on Spotify. In her defense, most people don't like her.
Probably primetime producers. But still, Michelle's spilling the family secrets, like how Barry gets on her nerves. Listen.
Barack, he had to adjust to what on time was.
Because he was on that island time.
Well, but, I've got this husband who's like, when it's time to leave, it's 3 o'clock, he's getting up and going to the bathroom. And I was like, dude, like a 3 o'clock departure means you've done all that, It's like, don't start looking for your clock.
Anyone who believed Michelle Obama was beyond critique clearly underestimated who they were up against. Greg Gutfeld entered the studio with a smirk that felt more like a warning shot, and the atmosphere crackled with anticipation. The stage was set, the wit was loaded, and Michelle was about to face the full force of Gutfeld's finely tuned sarcasm. This wasn't crude or careless, it was sharp, deliberate, and brutally elegant. Every punchline landed like a velvet glove, concealing a sledgehammer.
Have to use our voices to make these choices clear to the men that we love. Our lives are worth more than their anger and disappointment.
What's that pitter-patter sound I'm hearing in the background? It's the footsteps of Barack running to vote for Trump.
Gutfeld took direct aim at the myth, the carefully constructed idea of Michelle Obama. He mocked the image of a flawless political icon, wrapped in media adoration and shielded from serious critique. The notion of a former First Lady turned cultural darling, praised for every small gesture as if she were untouchable royalty, became the target of his scorn. There was no flattery, no soft touch, just sharp wit, a spark, and enough fuel to burn through the fantasy. And Greg lit the match with unmistakable intent and unapologetic joy.
They run Michelle. According to a new poll, Michelle Obama isn't as strong a Democratic candidate against former President Donald Trump as many Dems would have you believe. In a hypothetical matchup, my favorite kind, Trump wins with 47% of the vote compared to Michelle Obama's 44%. I guess some of the kids whose school lunches she ruined are finally.
If they run Michelle, things might not go the way Democrats hope. A new poll shows she's not the political powerhouse some make her out to be. In a hypothetical matchup, always the most fun kind, Trump edges her out, 47% to 44%. Looks like some of the kids she lectured over school lunches are finally old enough to vote, and they haven't forgotten.
No, I don't think she can. I think you said this before, Tyler. She can't run because if she were to lose to Trump, it would be the most humiliating, loss in history.
Well, not just, I don't know if I think I said that and you added that, but we'll take.
You also said that I look great.
Listen, Republicans, she just kicked our ass. She's up 15 points. I noticed this weekend. I'm just going to speak on it. We can't play with a lead. Every time Republicans, we get a lead,
He zeroed in on the transformation, the shift from wholesome, garden-planting mom to global media mogul. Michelle Obama went from growing vegetables to raking in sneaker deals, Netflix contracts, and massive speaking fees, all while still being marketed as the relatable outsider. Gutfeld exposed the irony with sharp clarity. Someone cashing in on the very establishment they once claimed to push against. The contradiction wasn't just pointed out, it was spotlighted so clearly. It couldn't be unseen.
Thinks American men suck.
Let me warn you, your rage does not exist in a vacuum. If we don't get this election right, your wife, your daughter, your mother, we as women will become collateral damage to your rage. To the women listening.
Then he went after the media's adoration with a blowtorch. The breathless headlines, the exaggerated praise, the way every stumble was spun as a triumph, nothing was safe. Gutfeld quipped that if Michelle tripped, it'd be hailed as forward momentum. If she coughed, it'd be declared a bold political statement. This wasn't journalism, it was canonization. And Greg showed up to rip off the halo and expose the carefully scripted narrative beneath.
Man. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. Tyrus, the men who are the real danger aren't the criminals or the illegal aliens. It's the guys that don't vote the way you want them to.
The ignorance that she projected as if the men are the only ones angry in the house. So every man who's been in a house where inflation's high, the electric bill's doubled, you're not getting cheers from the wife and kids. They're complaining.
Greg dismantled the image piece by piece, saying nothing about Michelle ever felt spontaneous. Every speech, every smile, every pause, it was all rehearsed, choreographed down to the second. To him, it wasn't authenticity, was branding. He compared her public persona to a Pixar-produced TED Talk, sleek, polished, and utterly soulless. He skewered the idea of hardship wrapped in designer labels and sold as injustice, joking that the only real oppression she endured came from her exhausted lighting crew.
Heather, were you surprised that Michelle Obama is not polling better? Because I assumed she would just explode.
No, I mean, well, I would expect her to do better than Biden. I mean, she's of a younger age, I think greater mental capacity, and the way the border is going, I don't think you can get much worse. However, it is surprising that even among independents and as well as Democrats overall.
When the moral preaching began, Greg unloaded like he'd been waiting years for this moment. He tore into her sermons on health, lifestyle, and school lunches delivered. He said, with the tone of a substitute teacher scolding an entire country. He mocked the flood of documentaries, books, and carefully staged photo ops, all drenched in self-promotion and dressed up as public service. To him, it wasn't about real change, it was about legacy building.